After spending time with Maddie, we learned that the beliefs she's held on to since childhood were the biggest things holding her back from mastering money. I was able to brief her money master, Yuming Wang from Nico Asset Management, and her new financial advisor, Paul. She now knows she needs to unlearn her old beliefs and it's time to get clear on what she really wants. Maddie spent time with Paul on the phone, giving him the rundown of her financial situation and is about to get the news on what it will take to build her financial plan.
My name's Paul Giordano and I'm from Vogue Financial. Madison, she's achieved a lot in the sporting world already at a very young age. She does face some serious financial issues. One of the biggest ones is, if she does get injured or if she's unable to train or compete in her sport, it's going to be very difficult for her to earn an income in the short term. Her income is very dependent on her being fit and competing and being successful.
The cornerstone of any good game plan is absolute clarity on your goals. Financial advisor Paul is here to help Maddie draw these goals out and deal with the fears she has about money. It's time for Maddie to take the second big step towards mastering wealth.
What was it like talking to Paul and telling him about how much money you're earning and that you didn't know how to put a plan together? Like, how did that feel? Because I know that's incredibly confronting for people.
Yeah, no, it was really strange. Paul was great to talk to though, but it was weird. It's not a conversation that I've ever really had to have in that much detail before. I think we kind of danced around the topic quite a bit and, have ideas with our friends and stuff, but it's not something that I've ever had an in-depth conversation about, so that was strange, but good.
I guess a couple of the things that we uncovered through our conversation was your cash flow situation is a little bit difficult for you to manage because the way you get paid from your sport and your profession can be quite lumpy and it's a little bit uncertain. One of the things that was stressing you out was having to pay rent and not knowing if you're going to be able to earn enough money to pay that rent.
Paul believes that Maddie needs to build a safety net of savings so she can feel secure that she can pay her rent if she's ever unable to compete due to injury. He'll be including this in her financial plan, and I'm sure it'll take a lot of the pressure off.
If we start to look at the medium term, we spoke about you wanting to purchase a property. Tell me a little bit about that, what that means to you.
That would be amazing. I would love to be able to buy. I have no idea how to get into the market or how to do any of that. I have a lot of friends who are buying at the moment, a lot of older friends, and they're saying that, they wish they'd started earlier and done it earlier, which has definitely got me thinking that maybe I am a bit younger than them, that I should start doing that. But again, I have no idea how to go about that.
Sure.
The real prize in Maddie's mind is clearly to own her own home. But to get there, she'll need to save up for a deposit. Something else Paul will add to her financial plan.
Have you thought much about your longer term future in terms of money and what you might do, when you maybe slow down working or stop working?
Yeah, so I'm studying at the moment while I'm training, and once I retire from sport, hopefully in a fair few years still, I want to have that backup plan. I'm getting my business degree and I'm majoring in marketing, so that's kind of the post-sport career plan. But I'm hoping that's a while away, and after that I have no idea what I want to do.
Okay.
Because Maddie's only 24,
Yeah.
right? So, most 24-year-olds are going out and clubbing and having a good time. Maddie tells me she doesn't go out at all because she's always training and working at school.
Yeah.
So you've made a lot of sacrifices to be a champion, haven't you?
Yeah, it's kind of a very different lifestyle. I think I chat with friends and we're living completely different lives. But it's amazing. I love what I do and I get to do what I love every day. And I feel like I have found a career that I actually, love getting up in the morning for. So it's definitely worth all the sacrifices.
So she needs money in super. Does she have any super?
At the moment, Maddie doesn't have any super. No. So
okay, that's a real focus for Maddie then.
Yeah.
It sounds boring now, but...
Very important still.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, because of you have time on your side, you can build a pretty significant asset base by the time, let's say you turn 55 and you'll have 10 years before you might stop working full time to be able to follow some other things outside of what you're doing and spend less time, in a 9 to 5, which is what you might be doing after your marketing degree, right?
So weird.
Paul believes Maddie needs to create a financial safety net so that if she's injured and can't train, she's financially secure while recovering. He's also got to crunch the numbers to figure out how to get her home deposit for her unit in Homebush. The thing that Maddie hasn't put enough thought into is how she's going to fund herself in later life. With no plan for her superannuation, Paul will need to put that into action right now to make sure Maddie will be okay.
It's all about now helping her understand how to best utilise that money for the short, medium and long term.
Maddie's realising she doesn't need to go it alone, which is great progress. Just like being an athlete, Maddie now understands that in order to master money, she needs to surround herself with a winning team. And just like sport, has to have the right winning mindset. It's now time to accelerate Maddie's Money Masterclass. So I'm bringing in Nikko Asset Management's Yu-Ming Wang, who is responsible for overseeing more than 200 investment professionals across 9 countries. Yu-Ming will share his insights to investing. And who better to reveal to Maddie the secrets of mastering money than a true money master?
I often say our enemy is not out there, it's actually ourselves. Understanding who you are, what your weakness is, and be able to overcome those mental challenges is often what differentiates good investor from mediocre investor.
His first secret will need to address Maddie's beliefs. This is particularly important to let go of her past beliefs around money and open her mind to a different way of thinking if she's to truly bring her financial plan to life.
One of the things that we as humans that often make the mistake, and that carries with every investor, is biases. We're all biased human beings because we see things from our perspective, how we grow up, how we see a perspective because of the culture that we come from, our family background, the language we speak. Many people think that there can only be one good way to do something, and that's the way that it's been done, from our upbringing, and that's just not true. There are many different ways to accomplish the same thing. So being open-minded, being able to accept that a different view is actually the first hurdle. And if you can overcome that, then I think an investor becomes a better investor.
Yu-Ming's next secret will get Maddie to really think about the future.
Being long-term sounds like something that you hear a lot, but it's actually very difficult to do. The reason I say that is something that people would describe me because I often emphasize that investing it's just like everything in life. If you can see far enough, long enough into the future, you're gonna have a more better visibility. It's no different than driving. When I learned to drive, if you see right in front of you, your car is gonna swerve. But if you look at the far down, the horizon, it's steady driving.
Now for Yu-Ming's final secret. Success in investing is about so much more than the numbers.
I actually spend a lot of time reading philosophy. I actually think that reading people and what motivate them and what kind of decision they make is probably more important than what the numbers tell you.
Yu-Ming was great. Like, watching the video was really, really interesting, kind of seeing a different perspective. He wasn't what I was expecting. It wasn't, numbers and structure as such. It was more kind of the concept of it, which is very similar to how I look at racing and training, isn't the specifics of what I do. Like, we can break it down and it looks how it looks, but it was less about the actual step-by-step process and more the concept of it and how the kind of mindset, I guess, that you have to have going into it, which I really liked. There were a lot of parallels between what he was saying and what I do and a lot of the things that I apply to my racing and my training. So it was really interesting.
If you'd like to see the full masterclass from Yu-Ming or download the Secrets to Mastering Money, head to our website. Welcome back to the Secrets of the Money Masters. We have some of the world's leading financial experts on hand tonight to help guide Maddie towards her financial goals. Hello to Managing Director of Nikko Asset Management Australia, Sam Hallinan, and financial planner Paul Giordano.
Hi, Vanessa.
Well, tonight we're going to talk about global investing. It was a key part of Maddie's strategy to actually invest globally, not just in Australia. But the reality is here that 6 million Aussies own shares, but only 13% of them invest globally. Paul, why do you think that is?
Look, I really think that stat comes down to a lot of unadvised or non-financial planning clients. There are some high barriers to entry for international investing, or so it seems, across the marketplace. I think that people think you need to invest directly and have generally vilified managed funds. And managed funds can be a great way to invest internationally. And a lot of people feel potentially differently about that.
Okay, well, Sam, you run a very big global investing business based in Japan, so Asian flavour. How hard is it for Nico to convince people to invest around the globe?
Yeah, look, Vanessa, I think you summed it up really well in the opening of the episode where you said that most people need to unlearn their investment habits, which means that it typically comes down to two reasons, ignorance and comfort. And it's not ignorance in a bad way, it's just that most people don't know how to access these types of investments. They don't have access to an advisor, like Paul said, and it comes down to comfort, which is that most people would prefer to invest directly into a Woolworths or a Wesfarmers as opposed to a Live-Nova, which is the type of stocks that we would have in our type of portfolio. So I think it comes down to those two factors.
Well, if, Australia's share market's worth 3% of the global market, do you think Australians are missing out?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's not just a case of missing out on return, but I think they're probably missing out insofar as understanding the risk that they have in their existing portfolios, in their existing financial life. I mean, we talk mostly about superannuation, but there's two massive assets that have exposure to Australia that sit within the typical household. The first and biggest is us, which is our income earning capacity. And then the second is the family home. Both of those are entirely exposed to Australia. So when it comes down to your investable assets, whether it be superannuation or non-superannuation, I think it's really important that people understand that investing offshore is as much in acknowledgement of how much exposure we have in Australia as anything else.
Yeah, look, Sam makes an interesting point, Paul, like the fact that our jobs and our labour market is based here and our homes. How hard is it for you to convince people to put money outside of those two things? Because, you said most people that work with you have at least 20% of their portfolio in global, but, you're looking after them, you've built a level of trust with them.
Yeah.
How hard is that to begin with?
Look, it's part of the foundation conversations that we have with people when we first talk about investing, and it's all about the simple fact of don't put all your eggs into one basket, and that's where the diversification factor comes in. It is really important, as Sam said, to look outside of Australia. You are really de-risking your position by looking outside of Australia and by having a part of your portfolio allocated outside of Australia.
Well, what I loved about Maddie was that she was someone who was very willing to learn. So she sat down and watched the masterclass with Yu Ming.
Yeah.
And she instantly went, I get it. I get what he's saying. I get that it's long term. I understand it. I mean, how often does someone get to talk to someone like Yu Ming Wang?
Oh, rarely. And I think that's partly the problem. And it comes back to the point before about ignorance. People just don't know. I was rapt to see Maddie have the opportunity to work with someone like Yu Ming, who is a fantastic global investor. And it's really a chance for someone to unlock the secrets from someone like that. That's what this show's all about. And it's wonderful to be able to bring to the Australian market the investment talent that Yu Ming represents. And in this instance, to allow someone like Maddie or give Maddie exposure to someone like Yu Ming.
And Paul, you're her ongoing financial advisor now. What's the relationship like with Maddie? She was when we went through the process, very keen. I've got a plan, I'm going to stick to it. What's it like now? I mean, we filmed that some time back. What's she doing?
Maddie's been fantastic. We're working with her as she would work with any of her other fitness or training coaches, and that's really what we want to do. We want to keep her accountable to her financial goals. So we're in regular contact with her to make sure she's following the plan and make sure she's on track. She is on track. Actually, she's exceeding her targets, as you would expect from Maddie.
Yep.
She's exceeding her targets, and she's really motivated to make this work. So it's been fantastic to be able to work with her.
Okay, and Sam, final question for tonight. Nico, based in Asia. I mean, is Asia the place to be investing going forward?
Oh, look, it all comes down to the individual circumstances of the investor, but what I do know is that Asia is a huge deal for Australia economically in a way that it was never 20 years ago. 6 of the largest 10 trading partners for Australia are based in Asia. 3 of the largest 5 are based in Asia. Economically, socially, culturally, Australia is connected to Asia in a way that it has never been before. And I think that's fantastic for a firm like ours to be able to build bridges for Australian investors into that region.
Well, Sam, thank you for supporting Maddie and for bringing out someone the calibre of Yu Ming Wang to help teach her, because it's made all the difference. And Paul, is telling us she's on track. So, this is a young woman whose life has been transformed.
Oh, it's fantastic.